All right, so all four of the game twos of the 2022 MLB Wildcard Series have concluded, and three of the four series are now over, as three of these teams were able to win game two and game one, of course, and clinch the division series. Of course, this Wildcard Series, all you need is 2 wins. And, very interesting series in game twos. I mean, on one hand, you have the Rays and Guardians, where there's only 1 run scored in 15 innings. On the contrast, you have Mariners and Blue Jays, where in just 9 innings we have 19 runs. So very, very crazy. But let's get into each game. So yeah, I talked about it. The Rays and Guardians. Very good pitching. The Rays, very smart. They put in, Tyler Glasnow, who obviously has, returned from injury, and they, used Corey Kluber in this game. It was really interesting. Base runners were not, super uncommon in this game, but, they just could not get runs. Both teams, really. I mean, the Guardians had, 5 or 6 hits and whatnot, and so did the Rays, and it was just pretty evenly matched all the way through. Glasnow tossed 5 scoreless innings. Tristan McKenzie was very strong for the Guardians, struck out 8 Rays. But, yeah, the game winner came in the 15th inning, the bottom of the 15th. Oscar Gonzalez crushed a home run off Corey Kluber. Kluber, of course, is pitching against his former team. And, that was a very crazy game. The Rays were trying to force game 3. The Guardians now will win and go on and face the Yankees in the American League Division Series. So, sorry to Chiefs, Rays, Bolts. I mean, the offense was unfortunately just not there. But the Rays, they made the playoffs, and, they were close in certain moments. So, they lose both games by 1 run. And only scored 1 run in this series. So next, we have the other American League matchup, the Mariners and Blue Jays. And the Mariners win their first playoff series in like 21 years. And this is crazy. I mean, they were down 8-1 in this ball game, 8-1. And they came back. They did it. And, I'm not a fan of the Mariners. They're in our division. But, you got to feel good about this. I mean, they're playing a team that was better than them by record, and they go into Toronto, and the Jays are confident, and they had an early lead, and Kevin Gausman's on the mound, pitching pretty good early on. But Teoscar Hernandez for the Jays, despite the loss, had a good game. He had 2 homers. He hit his first in the bottom of the second, 2-run homer off Robbie Ray. Ray, of course, facing his old team, also. And so that made it 2-0 Jays. Then 3-0 Vlad Guerrero Jr. got an RBI single up the middle, and that made it 3-0. And then 4-0 when Teoscar Hernandez got his second homer off the game, also off Robbie Ray, and it was a solo shot. 4-0 Toronto. And then the Jays, allowed their first run. Jared Kelenic got a sac fly with 2 runners on in the 5th inning, so 4-1. And of course, Toronto, they had their backs up against the wall, so they had to feel pretty good in this. So then the Jays scored again. The Blue Jays scored with a Santiago Espinal scoring on a wild pitch. And then Teoscar Hernandez once again gets an RBI. I mean, it's a hit by pitch, but still 6-1 at that point. Then 7-1, former Oakland A, Matt Chapman gets a sac fly to center, making it 7-1. And then 8-1 after Danny Jansen gets an RBI double. But then from there, it was pretty much all Mariners. They would come back. Ty France scored on a wild pitch, making it 8-2. Then Carlos Santana hit a 3-run jack. Obviously, he was like a midseason acquisition, and he made a big impact. Arguably the biggest hit of the season for them, making it 8-5. And I know, saying that, it didn't tie up the game or anything, but still, it got them way back in it. Then the Blue Jays got another insurance run, though, Danny Jansen RBI single, and that made it 9-5. But, pretty much the whole way through from the rest of it was all Mariners. Cal Raleigh gets an RBI single in the 8th inning. He ended up being the hero, 9-6 at that point. And then J.P. Crawford gets a tying double. It was a very botched play. There's 2 outs and the bases loaded. Springer and Bichette, they collided. It was sort of a scary collision, and Springer had to be carted off the field. But that scored in, cleared the bases and allowed all those runs to score in because every runner was going to be running on contact. It was 2 outs. I mean, if there's not 2 outs, then this game would have been probably a lot different because even if that ball falls, it's probably not going to be able to score all those runs because, the runners aren't going to be taking off. Adam Frazier ripped one down the right field line in the 9th inning to give Seattle the 10-9 lead, and they held on and won, and they will advance to the ALDS. Next, we had another upset. The Phillies shutting out the Cardinals in Game 2, winning this series, and they will play the Braves in their next series. It was a 2-0 finish, very low scoring. But the Cardinals, of course, 2 careers coming to an end, Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols. The pitching matchup was Aaron Nola and Miles Mikolas. And so, yeah, pretty good pitching all the way through. Bryce Harper got a solo homer for Philadelphia in the second inning, making it 1-0. That was half their runs, though, and they got their second run of the game. Schwarber lined a sac fly. And that, with the bases loaded, allowed to run to score, and it was 2-0. It kind of sucks for the Cardinals. A couple of their all-time greats, leaving on a lower note, right? So, yeah. But other than that, the Phillies played pretty good. You got to be proud of them. They barely made the playoffs, and then they kind of just upset a team that I didn't expect them to upset. So yeah. And then the only series that's going to go to Game 3 is the Mets and Padres, where this game is sort of the opposite of the last game. The Mets, pretty much took control, especially later in the game. It was pretty close. It was a good pitching matchup. 2 2018 Cy Young winners, Blake Snell and Jacob deGrom. So pretty good pitching to begin with. Francisco Lindor hit a homer, though, off of Snell in the bottom of the first, making it 1-0 New York. Blake Snell, he pitched pretty good other than that at the beginning. And the Padres tied it. Grisham hit a homer just like last night, and that made it 1-1. But unfortunately for the Padres, they would give up some more runs. Brandon Nimmo for the Mets RBI single to make it 2-1. Then the Padres got another run, of course, but then it was 3-2 after Pete Alonso got a homer. And the game was close, and the Mets would just take over. They got many runs. Their final run came off a Daniel Vogelbach sac fly, making it 7-2. And it pretty much ended it. Manny Machado got an RBI walk, but I thought they might be able to come back, the Padres, because they're good at that. But yeah, so we're gonna have a Game 3 in that series. I think it could go either way. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. I'll see you guys later, and I'll see you in Game 3. And peace out.